Harry, Ron, and Hermione are back for their third year at Hogwarts. Director Chris Columbus set the tone of the series by directing the first two films, and I had zero complaints about either film. So it shocked me when he was replaced by Alfonso Cuarón for the third film. Not because the studio wasn't happy with his work on those first two films, he was just tired and overworked, and he stepped away to produce the third film of the series, so as to not burn himself out. It didn't take long into the runtime of The Prisoner of Azkaban for me to realize that Chris Columbus and Alfonso Cuarón have very, very different directing styles. Columbus is great at making family-friendly, kid-centric movies. Think Home Alone and Home Alone 2, and Mrs. Doubtfire, and Adventures in Babysitting, and Christmas Chronicles 2. And Cuarón just has an eye for shots that elevate a film on a more technical level. The camera work is noticeably better in Prisoner of Azkaban, with many scenes never having a still moment. The cinematography is also much improved, with dark shots lit only by the moon that really stand out and make this film's visual style unique. The camera zooms in and through closed windows, which blew my mind the first time I saw it in the early 2000s. Because of that split second of visual warping as the camera moves inside the pane of glass. There is so much attention to detail. An example being a shot where the Whomping Willow tree shakes dew off of its leaves, and that dew hits the camera lens. Or another scene with the Whomping Willow tree swinging its roots all around at the characters. And these roots look extremely realistic, whether they're in front of the characters, behind the characters, or the characters are riding on top of them. It was early CGI, and somehow it looks a lot better than a lot of modern day CGI. But it isn't just the scenes with the Whomping Willow. The scenes of the camera moving through the clock gears or twisting around corners just suck the viewer into the film. But we can't give the director the credit for the story, as he had to work with the source material provided by J.K. Rowling. This third movie and book is noticeably darker in tone, and it's where the series starts to drift away from the kid-friendly tone to a darker tone with more sinister villains and more complex emotional relationships. Throughout The Prisoner of Azkaban, there are a few heart-to-heart moments where Harry speaks to an older, wiser character, and when he does, there is this pan flute playing in the background, and the music reminded me so much of music that I would hear in The Karate Kid when Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi were having a heart-to-heart talk. Now, of the first three films, this one cut out the most from the source material, but that's most likely because the third book is longer than the first two. But once again, nothing crucial was missed, even though there were a few parts of the book that I would have loved to seen brought to life on screen. Hogwarts feels much bigger here, as more elaborate set pieces are introduced, including a killer clock tower room with a very dangerous pendulum that I think if I were the architect of the castle would have raised it up a bit higher off of the floor. The Quidditch match is also much more intense, taking place on a dark and stormy day. It looked way better than the Quidditch match in the first two films. We once again are also introduced to a slew of new characters, including a new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, Professor Lupin, and a new class, Divination, with its professor, Professor Trelawney, whose name I always struggle to say. We have a new villain this time around in the escaped convict, Sirius Black, and are introduced to some new spells as well as some of the most sinister creatures in the entire Harry Potter universe, the Dementors, which look like Grim Reapers and basically eat your soul. And who can forget Hagrid's pet hippogriff Buckbeak, who looks like a giant flying ostrich. Many people consider The Prisoner of Azkaban to be the best movie in the Harry Potter universe, and that is no surprise because many people also think The Prisoner of Azkaban is the best book in the Harry Potter series. I love all of the movies and books so much it's hard for me to pick a favorite, but there is no doubt that Alfonso Cuarón directed the heck out of this. Hiding behind giant pumpkins, putting your hand on an icy train window, rainy Quidditch, riding on a tree branch, thick glasses and frizzy hair, triple-decker buses.